Welcome, welcome. If you are somebody who has ever felt like you just want to walk away from all your content, you want to shove it down in that digital drawer, you want to never look at it again, and you find yourself wishing that you could just give up content creation or stop content creation, today's conversation with Claudia is going to be really helpful to you. Hello, Claudia. I was going to say good morning, but it's say 3 in the afternoon where you are?
Yes.
Welcome.
It's been a rainy period and finally the sun is shining. So I am ready to jump into the topic.
So do you, as a marketing expert, I know as a content creation specialist, I have people who are hiding from their content, and just, I think for my people, one of their big fears is once I start creating content, will I have to just endlessly create content?
Yes, and they are not far from the truth, but the way is how you're going to endlessly create content, So I think they need to have a reason why they are creating content. And it has to be more than I need to create a blog or I need to be on LinkedIn because everybody says I need to be on LinkedIn. You need to have a real reason to do it. What is what you want to create with your content? You want to create awareness. You want to position yourself as a thought leader, as a consultant, as a coach, as somebody who can help. Because managing a business is difficult. You will have your up and downs. And, we not always will have inspiration to write or discipline to write or to create content. And one day not having the discipline is not a problem. But the problem is this lack of discipline starts to creep in. And when you realize 3 months have passed and you haven't created anything.
Yes.
Which is different from taking a vacation, from creating content or taking a break. A break has a start and an end date. And you are taking a break intentionally. I'm taking a break because this content is not fulfilling me, or because I want to study market trends, or because I want to feel to realize how I feel about what I'm setting out there. But then you should put a start and an end date so that you also create in your mind the structure that will allow that break to be productive for you. But if you let this 1 day, 2 days, 3 days creep in, then you run the risk of not only not being heard by the people who's relevant to you, but even more sadly, disconnect from your business.
So when people are, I just really want to normalize the idea. You and I were having this conversation the other day, like just let's normalize the idea that sometimes we won't feel like creating content, and sometimes we won't have the focus or the discipline or the inspiration. That's really normal. What you and I were talking about is how it creeps and kind of bleeds into like weeks, days first, then weeks, then a month goes by. And then it almost feels oppressive. And you're like, how do I climb out of this hole? And if you have ever felt that and you're watching this, Claudia and I really want you to know it's incredibly normal, which is, there's two things we want to talk about today, I think. One is the intentionality of when it's time to take a break, and how to do that in a way that works for you. And then two, how to put systems into place so that when you need a break, you've kind of got your content working for you already. So do you want to start with talking about the second one? Because I know that's your specialty.
Well, the system in place is more going back to the first like I did when we started, is why are you creating content? What is the function of content in your market strategy? So for instance, if you have business goals, and let's make it very simple. I want 4 new subscribers, or I want 4 people for my program between this period and this period. That is your business goal. So you need to have a strategy in place to reach that business goals, and that will be your marketing strategy. So what is the tone of your message? What is the main message you're going to send out? What is the purpose of your message, right? And from there, you have the tactics. I will use social media, or I will use Facebook ads, or I will use content creation, or I will use speaking gigs, etc., etc. The thing is, we tend to avoid the first 2 spots, which is your business goals and the strategy to reach your business goals. So what happens, your tactics are kind of floating in the air. And the example you were using the other day of the anchoring, that is the perfect way to do it. And I think you should explain your analogy of the anchor.
So I was saying that you want to orient yourself to wherever you're going. And the first example I want to give is like, I would come out of the subway in New York City and orient myself wherever I was by looking for the World Trade Centers when I lived there in the 90s. And it was a way to just constantly know where I was headed. And once I saw that anchor point, I could know, oh, that's north, that's east, that's west. But in the content and marketing world, or actually in our business world, we need to anchor ourselves because we're always going to be pulled in a different direction. Sometimes we're going to get spun around. Sometimes we're going to get confused or distracted or lost. And so having that anchor, and we liked the boat anchor better than using the World Trade Center as our model. It lets you kind of be grounded in your purpose, even though a current might come along, or a distraction might come along, or a storm might come along. You're always going to be grounded, and so you can kind of float without floating away and losing yourself, which is what, I think when we don't have an intention and we don't have a focus in our marketing, we don't know why the hell we're doing it. Like somebody told us, like you said at the beginning of the call, like somebody told us we're supposed to be on LinkedIn. So I'm just on LinkedIn, but I don't really have a goal or a purpose. Yeah. So the anchoring is this business goal that you have. And it's different depending on where you are in your business growth, I think, too.
Definitely. And then again, the idea of the anchoring and being swayed or being able to move with the currents will also allow you to evaluate how trends affect your business.
Yes, right.
Because since you can see, okay, it's a trend, I can go with the trend, or this trend is not going to help my business. I need to have a different strategy. So it's not this anchoring of your business idea, of your marketing, and of your content is essential for the survival of your business, because whatever is thrown at you, be a pandemic, be a trend, be a change in the market, even if your clients don't change, you will know how to do it. And an example for this last one is, for instance, let's suppose you've been selling healthy muffins, gluten-free, sugar, low in sugar, etc., etc. And you've been selling to the people in the gym. They leave the gym, and because you have healthy muffins, they come to you. The thing is, 2 shops further, there is a new bakery selling the exact same muffin, but they call it the paleo keto muffin, which is a trend in the market, and everybody thinks this is the new thing. And it's exactly the same muffin, maybe even the same recipe. But the way this guy is jumping on the trends will take the market away from you. So the same thing as we eventually emerge from COVID or from whatever crisis there is, we need to see how the market has changed and how our products or services can adapt to that new market. And you can do that when you know where your business is going and all the elements around it are helping you to achieve that goal.
So when you have the anchor, it's easier to take, and you have a framework in place, and you've got you're not like just kind of going into your marketing by the seat of your pants every day, trying a whole bunch of different things. When you need a break from your content creation and the machine, it's easier to do that. Yeah. Maybe because you've batched it, maybe because you have a team, but maybe you also have been just intentional and said to your audience, I'm taking July off. Don't look for my podcast, don't look for my emails or whatever, but you've communicated it intentionally. And like you said in the beginning of our chit chat, there's a start and there's an end. So you feel the relief of it versus the thing that I think happens to people when they take an unintentional break because they're either burned out or they're hiding or they're overwhelmed.
Life happens because life happens, and
Yes. It's like this invisible weight is on them. It's the opposite of relief. They're like, oh, another week and I didn't post on Instagram, and oh, another week and I didn't do that email that I wanted to do. And that just is so heavy emotionally, and like it's an invisible weight that just kind of seeps into everything. And we don't get our motivation back from that.
No, definitely. But that happens then again because it's not tied or related or linked to a higher purpose. So even if you know, you need to know why are you doing things. You need to know why
Yes.
you have a business. You need to know why you are directing your business in a given direction and not, as you say, by the fly of your pants. Like, okay, today I'm going to do that, because that is unintentional action, is uncoordinated, that's going to hurt your business much more than any other thing. So you really need to take this break if you need it. If content is not working for you, if content is not doing what it needs to do for your business, take a step back. But, put it in your diary, put it in your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
From week so to week so, I am going to take a break, and schedule how are you going to take the break,
Yeah.
At the end of the break, I will have achieved this goal. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do this every hour, every day. I will work for an hour on my business.
Yes. Yes. And then that's the other thing. If you are taking an intentional break, the question that you need to ask is, what am I doing to rejuvenate myself during this break? Not beating myself up, not, and it might not even be learning something new. It might be just moving your body to get a different inspiration, or having some different experiences to see things in a different way. I decided in June to take July off from my podcast. And it was just kind of a relief. I felt tapped out. I felt like stressed out by all of the things going on in my real life. And so I called my producer, and she said, that's not a problem at all. My clients do it all the time. And she and I talked about when I was going to start again. And I wanted to start back up in September. And she actually kind of challenged me, and she said, you can totally do that, but I encourage you to get back to it in August, at least with 2 little episodes where you're kind of engaging your audience again. And that made a lot of sense to me. And I felt like, oh, I have the relief of June. And it's only like July 16th. I already feel energized. I know the direction that the podcast is going in when I pick it up again.
Well, the other thing is, if you have a situation like a podcast or a regular content that comes out, and especially in the case of podcasts or blogs or resources, not newsletters, but resources, you can create a bundle. You can create a topic for the month. July is a slow month in general because, the weather is nice. The pace is different. So you can bundle podcasts that help you to make the most of that time. So how can
That's
I
right.
review my business? And then you can send people a newsletter with, this is a selected bundle of podcasts that talk about this topic. If you're not interested, this is another bundle you can do. And that way you repurpose, because it's very difficult that somebody has listened and remembers every podcast, even if they follow you like a saint. The other thing that is also interesting is that before you take this intentional break, you are really clear what you want to get out of this break and prepare for it. So, for instance, if your content is not working, touch base with the people who's reading and receiving your content. Ask them, what are you missing? What do you like? What strikes you most? Because then you can take those insights to your reflection time instead of using your reflection time to collect this information. Prepare your break intentionally, like you go on holidays. When you go on holidays, you do bookings, you check the place, you check your garderobe, you send your car to the mechanic to make sure that the car is okay, or you check that your AAA membership is up to date, etc., etc. You fill the tank. So you don't go on holidays like, I'm going on holidays with what I have in my handbag, because, you don't know what's going to happen in those holidays. So really plan this break like you would plan a lounge, like you would plan anything else in your business.
In order, though, to plan intentionally, you need to know you're going to take a break before you burn out. So sometimes we take the break because we're just like, I can't anymore. And then we haven't planned intentionally. So I love this idea of knowing, like, oh, I know that the holidays are coming up for it. Let's just use that as an example. And I'd really like to be present, or I have a vacation coming up and I'd really like to be present. Or I feel particularly depleted in the spring, whatever.
Mhm.
But you have to know yourself so that you can
Yeah.
prepare to take the break and you're not just coming to a screeching halt, which I actually have done that before, coming to a screeching halt. But this brings me to the other point I wanted to talk about. When I take a break, I trust myself that I know I'm coming back. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, they have kind of cheated on themselves so much when they are hiding from they don't have like a good practice around taking a break. So taking a break feels like I'm taking a screeching halt, I'm hiding from it, I don't have a plan to come back, and it just like lasts weeks or months.
I
And then
think
you like earned your own distrust.
the key is what you said. You don't have a plan to come back to. It's like the same
Yes.
thing with the holidays. You know, when you go on holidays and you travel, whether it's for a week, 3 days, or 6 weeks, like we have the benefit here in Europe, when you come back, it's kind of so difficult to get into the routine again. It's like your body, your mind, everything is still on your white sand beach and your crystalline water place. So you really need to have a plan. What's going to happen after when I come, and schedule
Mm-hmm.
that again and stick to it, because at least you don't have to create it or pull it out from thin air. So yes, you
Yes.
definitely need to have a plan for when you come back.
Yeah. And I think this is a practice that we need to have with ourselves is trusting that, first of all, trusting that we need the break and it's okay to take the break. And
Mm-hmm.
then trusting that if we take a 2-week break or we take a month long break, whatever we take, that we've put a plan in place. But even if you are listening to this program and you're like, okay, I've been hiding, I've taken a break, I didn't have a plan, I don't know when I'm coming back. The first thing I want everybody to do is touch base like with themselves and say, I know why I want to come back. I know why content and marketing is important to me. Because if you don't have a driver of why, then why the hell would you come back if it's going to just be more of the same shit from before?
Exactly, it's going to repeat, and you want to break the pattern. So yes, if you have
Yes.
bypassed this groundwork in your business, which is why am I doing it? Why do I want to achieve
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Because it's not only I want to use my knowledge and pay the bills, because
Right.
when the money's not coming in or where the market is against you, you still need a driver to get out of your bed. So
Yes.
there is a higher, ideally, there is a higher purpose with your business. For instance, with me is letting people know that marketing doesn't have to be hard, and that if you find a marketing that is in alignment with your communicational style, with your personality style, it will much easier to hang in there for the long term. And for you, it's like content doesn't have to be hard. You don't
Mm-hmm,
have to
mm-hmm,
sweat your content. There are
mm-hmm.
ways to get much more out of your content without working more. So that is your big umbrella for those things. So
Right. Right.
when you have that driver, it's much easier to get back. And because we will all get hits that we are like, oh my god, what happened here? you know
Yes.
and
Yes.
it might be simply that life happened. A kid
Mm-hmm.
falls sick, a parent, you fall from the staircase and break a leg, the light
Anything.
goes away, whatever. So you really need to have this higher purpose for your business and for yourself.
And if it's felt hard in the past, it's going to be, not motivating to come back from that. So one of the things I think we can leave people with is understanding that it's necessary to take a break at some point to rejuvenate yourself. Have your big why and
Mm.
know, why you're marketing your business. Why are you creating content? And if there's one thing I could leave people with is your point just before. Claudia always says marketing does not have to be hard. She helps you actually unravel all of the hard pieces. And it doesn't even have to be more, right? Like we don't have to be doing more. And content as part of your marketing strategy does not have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be a grind, and it doesn't have to be a treadmill that you're just constantly on, or hamster wheel. So I would love for everybody listening to this to take a moment to think about when they would like to take their next break and start to plan for that and get excited about taking that break from content and marketing.
Exactly. The
But
same
make sure that you have the plan in
plan.
place.
Yes. Get excited about it, like you would get excited about holidays. It's
Yes. Yes. Like when I knew that I wasn't going to send out an email to my list on July 4th and I was just taking that weekend off, I was excited. I was like, oh, I have like a couple of extra hours in my week this week. But it was a very intentional decision.
Yeah, you have to be intentional. Otherwise you can fall into the trap of falling in that black hole that you don't know how to get out of.
Yeah. So if you are interested in learning how to make your marketing easier and put a framework in place so that you really are not working so hard, Claudia is your person for that. If you are really interested in understanding how to make content work as a part of your marketing strategy that's already working for you, I'd love to chat with you about that too. So I'm going to put both of our links here. Claudia is Bridge to More, except I need to spell it right. Bridge to More.
With a 2.
With a 2. And you can find me at jenliddy.com. So thank you for staying with us this whole time. I really hope we've inspired you to plan for a break. Claudia, you have anything else you want to add in?
No, enjoy your weekend and be intentional.
I love that. Yes. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.